Okay, hello everybody. We'll give it a few more seconds just to let the last few people trickle in, and then we'll get started. Okay, I think we're good to get started. Hello everyone and welcome. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Marcella Poloski and I am ERP-One Sales Coordinator and the host for today's webinar. Before we get into it, I just wanted to provide you a quick background on ERP-One and who we are. ERP-One is an ERP solutions provider. We provide consulting for JDE in technical, application development, and project management. And we also provide long-term support via staff augmentation and managed services. Our team has over 20 years of experience working with clients as an extension of their own team, and we pride ourselves on our client-centric approach. Our goal is to help customers get the most value out of their ERP investment. Today's presentation, Modernizing Your JDE Application, is presented by Matt Vanderkoy. Matt is ERP-One's Chief Revenue Officer. He works across the entire organization to align corporate goals with work done by marketing, sales, and delivery teams, ensuring that all that ERP-One does is in the service of its existing and future customers. If you do have any questions throughout the presentation, please drop them in the comment box. We'll make sure to address them at the end. And if you do miss any important points, this is being recorded. I will now pass it on to Matt for the presentation. Thanks and enjoy.
Great. Thanks, Marcella. Yes, happy Thursday. Cool up in Calgary today, so got the winter sweater on, but it's been a nice fall and looking forward to some winter. So in this presentation, we're going to cover off a number of things, but really focusing on how we can extract some more value, consider a bit of a risk angle, and enable growth. And I think the important point here is without replacing your ERP. So from an agenda perspective, we've got just a little bit on this whole idea of digital transformation and how a legacy ERP like JD Edwards fits into that. Bit of a state of the nation, if you will, on JDE, and then how to take some meaningful steps forward. Really want to leave you with some action items here, both that you could do on your own and where we can help out as well. So, digital transformation for ERP. One of the things that we talk about a lot at ERP-One, and I use as well, and a course that I teach at the university here in Calgary, is around the value drivers. And I think anytime we embark on these kinds of projects, we come back to, well, how are we creating value for organization? And there's three main areas that I think are easy to wrap our head around where we're creating value. One being operational excellence, and that's where our ERP system lives. It's really an operational tool. The next being a client experience and sort of how we show up and interact with our clients, our customers. And then the third being, well, with all of that, can we do new things around creating new business models, et cetera? And I think we could focus or pick any of these lanes when it comes to digital transformation, but coming back to the whole idea of the ERP, again, that's really where that operational excellence comes into play. And if our ERP system can be running optimally, where we're extracting value out of it, it just works and it supports the core business processes that we have within our organization, that can start to enable really great client experience, knowing that the backbone of that is running in a real solid manner, that operational excellence side. So in order to do that and we think about, well, how are we getting some of the value there? I introduced this idea of strategic innovation versus smart imitation, and always thinking about the new and the latest and greatest. It's not always the answer. And imitating, and this comes out of a Harvard Business Review article, imitation can mean just doing some of the simple, the non-sexy things, if you will. Just keeping that as part of what we're doing to run our operation here. And so what they're saying is in order to move forward in terms of digital transformation, we don't always have to be innovating with the latest and greatest tools. Some of those really basic things can work as well. So specifically in the context of JD Edwards, we recommend that you really start to consider innovating selectively, right? So use Gen AI where it makes sense. Take the data in your JDE system and pair it up with some AI tools. Really consider what automation is going to look like and focusing on analytics where you can be different. But then the other side of that is to imitate wisely. And talk about Oracle's cloud stack, right? Talk about, are you using the JD Edwards features that you have, the latest and greatest in those? And in that case, can you be scalable, secure? Can you just leverage these proven solutions that you have as an available to you through what you already have and pay for from Oracle's perspective? And so one of the things that they talk about here is strategic imitation can reduce risk, it can save resources and accelerate impact. And it's especially true when you pair it with that targeted innovation. And so we're here to tell you that don't throw away your JD Edwards, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But make sure that you're leveraging the money that you're spending today in terms of the infrastructure and the maintenance to get the most out of it along the way. And as we go through that, keep these sort of operational excellence principles in mind. Limit the shiny things. Just because everybody's doing AI with everything right now doesn't mean that is necessarily right. Focus on your core fundamental business processes, right? We know that from a JDE perspective, there's a lot of core business processes that run through there. And often the transactional volume is really quite high. And if you can find ways to leverage the JD Edwards technology or pair it with some really smart other technologies and be more efficient in that way, you can earn a lot of savings potentially, which really then will drive more value because of that transactional volume and because it's really core to what you do as an organization. And so we've talked about this pillar if you've been with us, or these pillars rather, if you've been with us on other webinars, the operate, automate, evaluate, and transform. So from an operate perspective, this is just the day-to-day. Do you have the right support? Are you keeping your systems secure and up to date? Just that day-to-day operations of your JD Edwards business. From an automate perspective, this is looking at smart ways to include automation and other functionality to just drive some of those, again, incremental improvements along all of those transactions. Evaluate. In this case, we talk about this treasure trove of data that you have within your JDE system. And how can you use that data to get better decision making? And then transform, pulling in things that can be adjacent to your JD Edwards system to start thinking about how that future is going to look like. Yeah. So that just as a baseline from an operational excellence and how ERPs can fit into a digital transformation move as an organization. Okay. And so pivoting that, I wanted to just talk about the state of JDE today and why this topic of modernizing it makes sense and is relevant, right? So first, just the facts, right? JD Edwards is on premier support until 2036. Announcement was made at In Focus a couple of months ago. And again, that's part of a rolling window. And this isn't just keep the lights on support. This is premier support that includes development. So we know that we've got another 10 plus years of development going into the JD Edwards product. We also know, I'm not going to tell anybody on this webinar anything they don't know. I'll confirm it because we hear it from all of our customers all the time. JDE, it runs our core business processes. It does it effectively and it does it cost efficiently, right? We also know that there are constantly, so it's talking back to not only the premier support, but the development work that's going into it. There's this consistent rollout of new tools, new features. And Oracle's put that into a number of buckets here, namely digital platform, system administration, and applications, right? So digital platform being, connecting to other systems and allowing you to do a lot with the product itself. System administration, security, maintenance, rolling things out, operationally working that way, and then new features and functionality within the applications. Okay. We also know that taking advantage of what's in JDE is always going to be a more efficient cost benefit analysis than looking at a whole new ERP. And so we're not here to talk about that today. There are legitimate reasons to consider that. It's not why we're here today. But we also know that our businesses are probably demanding a lot of things. They're trying to push us forward, right? And go, how can we get JDE to do this or do that or connect to that thing or look like this, right? So there's that demand being driven from inside the business. Okay. So that's the facts. That's where we're at with JDE today. Another important, little sidebar thing, and one of the things that we see often is this idea of technical debt. And it's actually a barrier to staying current and consistent and up to date with our JDE here, right? So zoom out. Some of the definition here, it can be summed up as trade-offs made over time that result in an accumulation of efficiencies, challenges, risks, which then make that future development, that future scaling, that future maintenance costly and complex. And so when we take that into the JD Edwards perspective, it can manifest itself in outdated technology, right? We're running on old versions of Windows servers or Linux servers or an AS400, right? Outdated technology stack. We also don't know maybe all the places and why code was done the way that it was done, which leads to these unwieldy customizations and workarounds, and finally some integration challenges. So none of this is insurmountable, but it is something to pay attention to. And we'll talk about some of the examples as how some of our clients have gotten around this in a little bit later on. So to summarize, kind of our situation, we often hear that the JDE system is stale. Does it look, feel, and operate like it did 15, maybe 20 years ago when the first version, first web-based versions of JDE came out? We also know, and you're spending money. You're writing Oracle that check every year, and because of some of that technical debt, because of some of those limitations, adopting new features can be difficult, right? And therefore, that sort of gets us in this vicious cycle where that technical debt gets perpetuated each and every upgrade. We do an upgrade, we just retrofit that back, that old code because we don't have the time or the ability to really look into that and try to replace that. And there's probably an argument to be made that how you run your business, and certainly the business processes to that business, have evolved since they were originally implemented. Okay. And so this leads to this general sense of complication here. This lacks the flexibility when you merge company data together. Users are frustrated that the system hasn't evolved and can't evolve. From a financial perspective, like what is the ROI on that maintenance spend, that check that's going out to Oracle every year? And that bad business process, the custom code, it's a daily challenge. It's hard to maintain, it's hard to troubleshoot, and it really gets magnified every time we're trying to do an upgrade. So, what does all of this mean, and how do you move forward through all of this? And so, we're going to unpack these three main areas over the next couple of slides. But one is to have a real concerted effort around reducing technical debt and streamlining process. Another is a game plan. How are you leveraging new features and functionalities, right? A like for like upgrade, it's going to be hard to get that one through budget, right? How are we actually adding more value by going through an upgrade project? And then through it all, how are we enabling growth and proper integration out to other systems that are critical to our business? So let's work through some examples from each of these three main areas here. So first, our technical debt and process bottlenecks. And we're going to walk through some examples, some action items that you can take, and some of the potential impact that you can have as well. So the first one, go ahead and replace that outdated customization. Look at that legacy custom code and migrate that to some standard JDE functionality or user defined objects. Right? This is as simple as I remember when I started in JDE, which is a fair time ago. Um, if you needed to add another column to a grid, that was a customization. If you needed to move a field around, that was a customization. All of that can be done now through UDOs. And so have a game plan to migrate some of that over, right? Um, the impact there, you're going to get reduced maintenance complexity on a kind of day-to-day basis. And then when you do upgrade, and we've talked in this webinar space before around continuous delivery, you're going to be able to upgrade easier when these things are using standard JDE code, when they're using standard and user-defined objects there. So that's number one. Number two, streamline overcomplicated processes, right? Take the time to analyze how your business processes are working today and look for ways to simplify them, remove unnecessary steps. Go back and is there a customization that was put in at one point and is that needed anymore? And a similar impact here, you're going to get better system health, more agility. And if you can make the clicking through the screens easier, guaranteed you'll get some increased user satisfaction along the way. The third idea in this technical debt and process bottlenecks is automating manual tasks. And this is really where the JDE orchestrator, which is part of that digital platforms tool set that they've been putting out, and some of the UX-One design, this can really help automate repetitive tasks. Things like purchase order generation, inventory updates, user management, right? There's lots and lots of examples of where orchestrator can step in and start to do some automation here. This is going to reduce manual errors from rekeying things across the system, and it's going to allow your resources to do higher value work across the system as well. So, some three examples, actions, and impacts for technical debt. Okay. To sum it all up, I would say streamline or consider ways that you can streamline overcomplicated processes and customizations to improve that system health and agility. So the next big area that we can work on here is around leveraging new JDE features and modules. And so again, following the same example, action and impact, sustainability framework, something that the JD Edwards product team released about a year and a half ago and continues to enhance. And it's a really simple, you got to configure the foundation and the activity ledger. And once you have that in place, you can automate capturing environmental data and feed it into a reporting tool, right? So the impact here, if you're having to do environmental reporting anyways, tie it to the transactions that are can capture some of that data within JDE. And then one example is an integration to the Oracle EPM tool, which has a lot of the pre-built reporting. It can plug into any tool that you use for sustainability reporting. EPM is one example there. Next one up is around the finance module enhancements, right? So long list here, but to summarize a few, there's new AR features, sorry, around delinquency fees. There's expanded account ID ranges, and this allows for better integration. There's feature functionality in AP, in lease accounting, lots of different ways in the finance module that there are some small features being added in there, right? And the impact of these is better reporting, and it can support business growth along the way. Another example here is in the procurement module, right? So here we've got the process modeler and a process model functionality specific to procure to pay. You deploy that template and you can start to integrate warehouse data. Now you're starting to get more visibility into your procurement workflows, which then allows you to streamline the procurement cycles, um, and who doesn't want improved inventory accuracy or operational efficiency along the way? Yeah. And I alluded to it in the finance, right? Lease accounting, another area where implementing that piece of functionality in JDE, great way to leverage some of those new features. Right? So again, to summarize this one, I would say unlock new features and efficiencies to solve today's business challenges and prepare for tomorrow's opportunities, which leads us into enable growth and integration here, right? So one way that we can do this is integrate JDE with other enterprise systems, right? We know that JDE isn't the be all and end all system that you're going to use for everything across your organization, but it's really great at the things that it does. And so find ways to integrate that, right? Middleware solutions, Oracle Integration Cloud, one example. Use some APIs out there. And really connect JDE with other platforms to enable that data to move back and forth, right? Declare a system of record and move things in and out off of that. And that will reduce manual data entry across multiple systems and hopefully start to eliminate or at least break down some of the silos across the organization. Another thing we want to do is improve data quality and business process, right? So really look at where in JD Edwards you've got some bottlenecks around bad data, unclean data that hasn't been maintained. Work to address that. Work to align your security models to that, and really adopt best practices for process design, right? This will drive more efficient operations across departments, either just within JDE or with JDE and some of those other systems that you're integrating to. And again, without having a lot of bad data or data challenges, upgrades will run smoother and the data moving back and forth between applications will be more seamless. You won't be troubleshooting data errors along the way. And finally, I'm not pushing this as part of this presentation here, but consider a move to cloud or hybrid, right? And focus, you're still running JD Edwards, but it's just going to be hosted somewhere else in a cloud place, right? So transition your non-prod and your production JDE environments to cloud infrastructure, and you will get scalability, better resistance there, right? And there's a real chance that you can reduce your infrastructure costs. You can build in scalability and disaster recovery, that's the DR, and you will get access to some of the other modern cloud features. So to sum this one up, expand your JDE system to new business units, integrate with other enterprise platforms, and drive more seamless operations. So I think it's fine for us and me to stand up here and say all of these things. Here's some case studies of how we've done this with some of our customers. So from a city government perspective, they have an annual process improvement budget dedicated to JD Edwards, right? There's just, they don't have a set defined project for it, just a budget set aside that they're going to keep chipping away at this. And then subsequent to that, each upgrade that they do, which they're on an every 2 year cycle, they have budget for replacing customizations with UDOs. And in fact, the next year when they go through this project, I don't think that there's anything that more that they can do to pull out and get back to either vanilla code or UDOs. And so every upgrade gets easier and less costly along the way. We work with a major retailer. One of the big things that they're doing, finishing all of their world to E1 conversions along the way, getting everything up onto the most modern or more modern, certainly E1 than world. And they've taken a stab at implementing a lot of orchestration. So business unit creation is a very complex project and process for them. So we've just automated some of that. A lot of work is done in spreadsheets and then uploaded into JD Edwards through orchestration. And similarly with user management, quite a high turnover and really rigorous security policies. And so orchestrating that streamlines that along the way. Finally, construction company that we work with, one of the things that they're doing is integrating a best of breed procurement system with JDE, and we're helping them implement the lease accounting module. So, how can you start to take this and sort of move it forward in a meaningful way for your organization? And whether you do these steps, inside on your own, or whether you'd like us to come alongside and help, I think the playbook is kind of open here as to how we would go about doing this. And so we've got a modernization discovery workshop that we can walk our customers through, or any of you on this call through. The first part starts with a business process analysis, right? And this is our experts in the modules of JDE. They work with your team, map current workflows, identify bottlenecks, uncover those efficiencies, and really how data moves in and out of JDE and within JDE between the different pieces of functionality. Once we have that as a baseline, we move over to a pain point assessment. And here's where we're doing targeted interviews. We're reviewing the system. We're going to surface up some of these things around technical debt, customizations, process challenges. What is holding the business back in this case? And with those two things in mind, we can start to, and an eye to what features are available in JDE, we can start to build out a modernization roadmap. Receive a tailored action plan. It outlines the opportunities to now go and streamline those processes, adopt the new features, integrate with other enterprise systems, really driving more of that growth and that risk perspective here, right? And this is really rooted in three simple questions that we can work with the business to understand. What's not working? Where do you have friction? And what's on your wish list, right? And like I said, whether we're coming in along and helping with this, whether you're doing this internally, you walk around, you ask those three questions, you're going to learn a lot about what's working and not working in your JDE system. So in the discovery workshop, what we'll cover here, strategies to simplify the customizations and removal of that, really to improve your upgrade readiness. Think about what features can be adopted, certainly in a continuous delivery model. And where can data that's in JDE be integrated to other systems, or data from other systems be brought into JDE to tell a more complete story? And what you'll get out of that workshop, you'll get that summary of findings, you'll get a high level roadmap for modernizations and some real recommendations for next steps. Why do this now? All right. First and foremost, extend the lifespan of your JDE investment. You've made that investment, you're paying the maintenance on it, right? It's a great system, but you need to keep it healthy and up to date. By doing this, you can step in, start to reduce that technical debt. That's going to pay off in the future, but it will take a bit of an investment today. At the same time, consider what new features can be adopted. How can we integrate with other systems? And don't be afraid, reach out, gain that expert guidance. And as you saw in some of those case studies, we've done this. We've helped organizations do this. We'd love to come alongside and help you with your journey along the way there. I knew I was going to be tight for time. We're right there. Happy to take some questions. If you scan that, that'll grab a link right into my calendar. Find some time. Would love to chat more about this. And yeah, if there are any questions, I don't see any, but Marcella, keep me honest. If you've got any, I going to stick around for a bit and happy to answer and carry on the conversation.
Yeah, perfect timing, Matt. Great presentation. Thank you. I don't see any questions coming through right now, so we can wrap it up. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. In case you missed anything, as I mentioned earlier, this has been recorded, so I will send it out to everybody, as well as a post-webinar survey. Anybody that fills it out will receive a Starbucks gift card as a token of our appreciation. And yeah, any questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out. Check us out on LinkedIn. We're always posting on there. And we hope to see you at our next webinar. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.